cards come on and drop off this list, but any card that's been on here 3 or more months throughout the course of the year, at least in the past, has performed really well. Absolutely, hands down, without question, one of my favorite cards of all time. Finding a lot of support right in that $55 range. We talk about cards hitting support lines all the time. It just wasn't my favorite card in the Journey Together lineup. What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and this is one of our longest running and absolutely one of my favorite video series that we do here on the channel. So every month we get information from TCGPlayer where they say, listen, these are the cards that we're buying and selling the most on our website over the last 30 days. So these are the top 10 Pokemon singles in terms of sales volume at TCGPlayer. Now, why that gets me so excited and why I think that's so cool is when you think about the platform that TCGPlayer is, outside of eBay, they are likely the second biggest buying and selling marketplace for Pokemon singles. So when you see cards on this list, that shows you that the overall hobby is really interested in these cards. And one of the key factors in not only price today, but more importantly to me, price in the long run is demand. So when you see huge demand for these cards on TCGPlayer, you know, it gets me excited. It piques my interest. Now, you see down there, there's that 3+ hero, which looks like it's in neon lights. Well, that is because we've been doing this video series since kind of the end of 2022. So we had the end of 2022, all of 2023, all of 2024, and I went back and looked at all the cards that were ever featured on this list. And what I found was cards that were on this list 3 or more times in the course of a year had a significant level of outperformance versus others. So I call that out for you because cards come on and drop off this list, but any card that's been on here 3 or more months throughout the course of the year, at least in the past, has performed really well. And when you think about it, you know, obviously these are going to be big name Pokemon. Most of them come from big sets, and this just confirms the demand. And again, supply and demand is what drives cost and price, so I think that's really cool to call out. Additionally, I will share with you the price of either the booster box or if it comes from a specialty set, Pokemon Center exclusive ETB price that it comes from, because it's always interesting to how singles move and the sealed product. And also I have this star system to represent how many consecutive months the card has been on this list. Now, I will say this, we will talk about the 10 cards that have been on this list over last month, but before we talk about what's on it, I always like to start off with what has fallen off. So, these are the 2 cards. Now, if you've been following this series at all, sometimes we have 5, 6, 7 cards that drop off month over month, but we only have 2 cards that have fallen off. Now, the Hops card wasn't necessarily surprising to me. Journey Together was obviously, you know, one of the newest sets, and whenever a new set comes out, it's not uncommon for the cards to end up on this list, so I wasn't surprised to see that one drop off. But I was surprised to see Lily's Clefairy drop off, because I do think that's going to be the chase card in the long run, and I do think that the card's reaching somewhat of an approachable price point in the $150 range, so I was a little bit caught off guard when I saw this card drop off. We'll just have to see what happens with demand in the future, but I do think Journey Together has fallen a little bit flat. However, you will see multiple Journey Together cards on the list as we go throughout this video. And the other thing I wanted to call out is there are 6 cards on this list, 6 out of 10, which have hit that 3+ hero status, which means that we're halfway into the year, right? Which means 6 of these cards have already been featured 3 or more times over the course of this video series in 2025. Now, again, that doesn't mean there's going to be immediate price movement. It doesn't mean that they've hit this mythological support line where they're just going to go up all the way into the future, right? All that means is in the long run, if we were to look back in multiple years, if we go to 2026 or 2027, and we were to look back, I think the cards that have been on here 3 or more times, which obviously have high demand, I think we'll see that they've done really well, as we did when we did the exercise for 2024 and 2023. So, before we get into the 10 cards that are the most popular singles on TCGPlayer last month, as you can tell, we do a ton of work behind the scenes here to bring you the very best data and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the hobby. So if you're into that, if you have fun, if you're enjoying it along the way, hit the subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those 2 small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's start looking at the 10 cards that sold with the most volume on TCGPlayer last month. Coming in, we're kicking down the door with Journey Together, and this is the Ends Zoroark. And the cool thing is you can see with the 2 yellow stars, this was on the list last month and this month, so we will have to see if it can hold on. One of the things that I like about this card is really the price point. I've talked a lot about how I think Journey Together was a little bit of a perfect storm, right? It came out, and I think, you know, these, I don't know, the owner Pokemon, the trainer's Pokemon, whatever you want to call it, I think it fell a little flat with the hobby. Plus, when Journey Together came out, things were starting to soften to begin begin with. Plus, the pull rates were really, really favorable, which means there's going to be a lot of these out there. So, there's just a lot of reasons why these cards are kind of soft coming out of the gate versus what some of their peers did. But coming in at $83, I'm going to continue to watch this. It does look like it's starting to find some support right around that $80 mark. I think this could be an interesting pickup if you have a very long-term horizon. This is another one. We've seen N do so well over the course of history here in the Pokemon card hobby that I think this is just a really cool card. So it's intriguing to me, and I will have it at some point, but I'm just looking for it to flatten out a little bit. The other thing that's interesting, look at Journey Together booster boxes, right? It's down to $209. Now, that might be crazy to think about. If you've been doing this for, I don't know, longer than 8 months, you would realize that you're still paying a significant premium over MSRP for a set that just came out. But that's where we live today. That is the world that we live in. So $209, you see how it's come all the way down. It was all the way up at $280 at one point. So we'll see if the booster box starts to come down even more, or if because of the softness in the cards, it starts to settle a little bit at the $200 price point. But that's the card, super cool one. Lots to unpack from that, obviously. Now, the next card, and the first one that we're designating as a 3+ hero, is the Squirtle card from Crown Zenith. And I like Crown Zenith as a collector. I truly do. But as I watch all of the top cards get closer and closer to that $50 mark, I mean, the Terapagos card, right? That was supposed to be the chase card. That is sub $50. The Bulbasaur card, right? The number 2 card to the Squirtle, that's either right at 50 or starting to get just a little bit below. And then you've got the Squirtle card here coming in at $58. I think it's going to be really hard for this set to be successful if it doesn't have at least one card over $100. I mean, even think about Sword and Shield. You got Battle Styles, you got Vivid Voltage, right? Like those two sets at least have a card over $100, and Stellar Crown either does not or won't not, or at least won't for quite a while. So it's very interesting. But then when you look on the left at that booster box price, booster boxes are still going for $214, which is absolutely crazy. We just looked at Journey Together booster boxes, which are going for $207, and it has a solid stud card in the Lily's Clefairy. But then you got Stellar Crown where the booster boxes are going for $214. Doesn't always have to make sense. But I do love this Squirtle card. I got it in a PSA 10. I think in the long run it's going to do okay, and no matter what, it's my daughter's favorite Pokemon, so I'm always a big Squirtle collector. Next card on the list, Iono's Bellabolt. Now, you want to talk about a card which is kind of bucking the trend. If you look at this price graph right here, it's looking different than the Lily's Clefairy or the Enzoroark, right? Like this one looks like it's actually holding its water a little bit better. It got super hot right out of the gate and went up, and it's been working its way down, but the price drop has not been as significant as the other two. It's also a card that's been on this list 2 months in a row. We know Iono is an absolute stud. I mean, she kicked down the door with Paldea Evolved with that absolutely incredible card that combined great artwork and fantastic playability. So Iono has been a headliner throughout the entire Scarlet and Violet era, not just from a collecting point, but also from a playing perspective. And then you have this adorable card right here. So really interesting to see it on the list 2 months in a row, and it'll be fascinating to see if it can continue to hold on. Like maybe this will be, one of the top cards in Journey Together moving forward. I think there's definitely room in that number 3, 4, and 5 spot. So super cool card. Love to see that it's bucking the trend a little bit in terms of how it's compared to the big chase cards, but we'll just have to see where it goes long term. Next one. Absolutely, hands down, without question, one of my favorite cards of all time. I became borderline obsessed with this card. Had to have been 18 months ago, and I was on a shopping frenzy on eBay. I would buy as many of these sealed as I could find, right? Because this is a promo card from the Hidden Fates Elite Trainer box, right? And I was just on a buying spree. I must have 7 or 8 of these in PSA 10s, but it's because I love the artwork so much. It's the stained glass version. You got the legendary birds on there. Like, it's so incredibly unique. I did it from a personal collection standpoint. I just thought it would be really cool. And of course, obviously, I'm a long-term holder, so I thought in the long run it would do well. But when you combine those 3 awesome Pokemon with a really unique artwork, considering the fact that it's coming from a sealed product, which is now over $300. That ETB was going for like $150 for so long, and I remember us saying time and time again, like, it just doesn't make sense. This booster box at some point is going to, or excuse me, Elite Trainer box at some point is just going to take off like a scalded rabbit, and it took a while for that to materialize, but when you have a long-term time horizon, that happens. But you're very rewarded if you were to take part in that, because again, it's almost doubled over the last year, and this card is up, significantly as well. So really cool card, love everything about it, and I'm excited to finally kind of see it have its day here on a video like this. Next one we're talking about, The Salamence card, and if you know, if you watch all my videos on Journey Together, I have not been, okay, listen, I love the artwork, no hate on Salamence, but it just wasn't my favorite card in the Journey Together lineup. I do think it's absolutely stunning for whatever reason. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the Fire Spirit from Frozen, and my daughters watch Frozen nonstop, like it's literally ingrained in my brain. So anyways, for whatever reason, it reminds me of that. So lots of connective tissue between me and the card. However, I just think the Enzoroark in the long run is going to overtake this card as the number 2 card in the set. Right now, this one has the edge just a little bit, coming in at $88. The other one I think was at $83, so we'll have to see what happens long term, but we'll see. Maybe the collecting hobby will love this. Maybe this card's got a very bright future ahead of it. It's been on the list this list 2 months in a row. We'll see. Maybe next month it hits the 3+ heroes list, and if it does, that's certainly going to change my tune and my future outlook on it. But Journey Together strongly represented thus far throughout the course of this video. Next one, and here's where we start to get a different set with a strong representation. We're going to be talking about 151 a lot over the next couple cards. And again, this is just going to solidify the point that I have made no less than 50 times, probably over the last month, is that 151 is going to absolutely crush in the long run. I think everybody knows it, but I don't know if everybody's acting on it. And obviously we all have a budget. We can't just go out and buy $1,000 worth of 151 Pokemon cards because we think in the long term there's going to be huge price appreciation. But I will tell you this, I think these cards are at a very approachable price point. They're moving down with the broader market. I think 151 is getting closer and closer and closer to that 2-year mark. Like the gem rate's absolutely horrible. The artwork is amazing. Like it checks every single possible box I could want in terms of buying opportunity. And I've talked about this Charizard coming in at the $200 point for a long time. I think it is a very fair price for an absolutely phenomenal card. And then look at the Pokemon Center exclusive ETB price there on the left, coming in at almost $500, at $471. It is just incredible. And if you were around back then like I was, these were not particularly hard to get a hold of. The Pokemon Center exclusive 151 Elite Trainer boxes just were not that hard. You didn't have to wait in a queue. You didn't have to fight bots. You didn't have to do anything that you have to do today. I had picked up like 3 or 4 cases of them without even sweating once it came out. And I was like, yeah, sure, fine, I'll buy another case. Then a little while later, I was like, yeah, sure, fine, I'll buy another case. So I have a ton of these products sitting in the Pokemon closet simply because I knew 151 was going to be legendary, and I felt those Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs were going to be really well. So this is obviously a 3+ hero card. It's been on here 3 times over the course of this month or this year, and I guarantee you it will continue to be on this list as the year progresses. The next one, another 3+ hero. Spoiler alert, a lot of these 151 cards are, but again, it should just solidify our talk track that the 3+ heroes are going to do very well in the long run, because I have no doubt all of these will do well in the long run. And obviously you have the Venusaur card right here coming in at sub $60, coming in at $57.63 at the time of this video. My gosh, I mean, even if this ends up in the top 3, I truly think Charizard's going to be number 1, Blastoise is going to be number 2. I think this card is going to be number 3. I think the top 3 cards are going to do really well, much better than all of the other ones. So this could be a phenomenal buying opportunity. And I did the 1-year graph for this card, and spoiler alert, we'll see the Blastoise here in a minute. I did it to represent you're paying a small premium compared to where a lot of the market is versus where the price was a year ago. Yes, you're paying 33% more than where this card was a year ago, but 33% more versus what we know now, versus the scarcity of the set now, versus the fact that the window of opportunity is closing for 151. I still think it's a phenomenal price point coming in at $57. Next card, of course, as I alluded to, is the Blastoise, and this card is my jiggy jam, to be honest with you. Coming in at $65. Again, you're up less than 30% versus where this card was 1 year ago. This will be a $100 card. You can mark it, you can take it to the bank. At some point, I don't know when, this will absolutely be a $100 card, but the artwork is amazing. Blastoise is obviously one of the biggest names. Think about all of the XY cards that we are now seeing go absolutely insane in terms of price appreciation. Blastoise is at the top of a lot of those cards. So I think this card has a great opportunity, and again, 3+ hero, no surprise there. Next one on the list right here is the Zapdos, and this card is another one. Again, it's only up 28% versus where it started the year, coming in at $47. Again, you've got the 3 awesome legendary birds up there, so this card is going to do fantastic in the long run. Coming in, again, it's up 28%, so there's a lot there. I don't think it has, the firepower of a Blastoise, certainly doesn't have the firepower of a Charizard, but 151 as a whole, I really think the top 20 cards are just going to do phenomenal in the long run. So awesome card, the market loves it, and again, just really cool artwork. Next one and the final one on the list, and this might surprise people, but this Charizard from Obsidian Flames. Throughout the course of this year, this card has been like number 1, number 2 on this list pretty consistently, so obviously the demand is there, but you can't just look at one thing. You have to look beyond that. So we know pull rates. Pull rates are critically important to the value of a card in the long run, because if the pull rates are too good, there's going to be plenty of them in the secondary market, which will drive down the price, because guess what? There's a huge supply of them, and Obsidian Flames had a really favorable pull rate. I think it was one of the best pull rates of the entire Scarlet and Violet era, so there's going to be a lot of these cards out there. To the counterpoint of that is the gem rate was the worst. Obsidian Flames had the worst gem rate out of all of the cards in the Scarlet and Violet era. So there might be a lot of them out there, but people who are chasing PSA 10s, the PSA 10 population from a percentage standpoint is going to be relatively small. So there's a counterpoint to that. However, to counter the counterpoint, remember, if there's a ton of them, if there's a million of these out there and it's got a 36% gem rate, then guess what? There's going to be a ton of them in PSA 10 holders. So you just got to kind of consider all of those factors. But I will say this, I don't think this is your Darkness Ablaze card. I think this is going to perform better than that Charizard and Darkness Ablaze. I think the PSA 10s are always going to have a pretty high value, considering how hard they are to get, considering the popularity of Charizard, considering I think this artwork is really awesome. I think it's a worthy contender for number 1. As you can see, it's starting to flatten out, finding a lot of support right in that $55 range. We talk about cards hitting support lines all the time, and I think this one has very much, at least for now, solidified that $55 support line. And again, I think it's just a really fair price to get in there. I mean, look at what those Obsidian Flame booster boxes are going for. Considering the chase card in the set is $56, right? And the booster boxes are going for $234. We're just going to have to see. This supply and demand is so out of whack, it's absolutely wild. So that's it. Those are the 10 cards that sold the most on TCGPlayer last month. I always try and give a little tips and tricks and tidbits along the way in terms of grading data and volume and all of that stuff. And I hope you found value in it. And if you did, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those 2 small things go a long way in helping my small channel out. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have an epic rest of your day. See you, everybody. Bye.